Welcome back to Movie Go. Today I'm going to explain the movie called Gerald's Game from 2017. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. And I hope you enjoy it. This movie is about a married couple named Jesse and Gerald. They went to a quiet place far from their city to enjoy themselves. But how will the situation get worse in that place? We will explain it ahead in this video. At the beginning of the movie, we saw that Gerald was going on a trip with his wife. For the past few days their relationship was getting worse, and that's why they're going on this trip to enjoy themselves and make their relationship stronger. While driving they found a wild dog in the middle of the road. It was eating a dead animal. When they reached their cottage, Jesse noticed that the dog had come here by following them. Jesse gave some meat to the dog. Jesse was getting ready to get along with Gerald, and she wore a beautiful dress as well. Suddenly Gerald entered the room with some handcuffs. Gerald tied her up with the handcuffs to the bed to have sex. They enjoyed it for some moments, and then Gerald went to take Viagra with the excuse of drinking water. Gerald tried to have sex with Jesse, but Jesse didn't like his behavior. Jesse felt like Gerald was trying to rape her, and she told him to stop right now. With that they began to argue with each other, and then suddenly Gerald had a heart attack and he fell down on Jesse. Jesse tried to get him up, but Gerald fell down from the bed. Jesse realized that her husband had died. She tried to unlock her handcuffs, but she failed. After some time Jesse heard a footstep, and it was the wild dog. It entered their room and it started to eat Gerald's dead body. Jesse threw a book towards the dog, and the dog went a few steps back and then sat down. After a few seconds Gerald once again woke up, and Jesse realized that it was just her hallucination. Gerald started talking to Jesse, but actually it was still just her hallucination, and Jesse was talking to herself. Gerald told her that she will never be able to get out of these handcuffs and you're about to die here. Just like that Jesse saw another woman who looks like her, and she was motivating her to stay alive, and we realized that these two persons were two sides of Jesse's mind. Gerald was on the negative side and Jesse was on the positive side of her mind. It has been 2 hours since Jesse has been tied up to the bed. That's why she was getting too thirsty. Gerald was talking to Jesse and told her that I've been hiding this Viagra from you for 6 months. Jesse told him that I knew it, but still I ignored it intentionally. Jesse did this so that their relationship doesn't get worse. While Jesse was talking to Gerald, then her hallucination, Jesse told her that you should be grateful that today Gerald took the blue pill. Jesse told her that I didn't get it. Jesse remembered that when Gerald took the Viagra pill he left the glass of water on the shelf near her bed. She tried to get the water glass and she succeeded, but unfortunately she was not able to drink it since her hand would not get to her mouth. And that's why she had put the glass back on the shelf. After some time Jesse found the tag of her dress. She rolled it up and made a straw out of it. That's how she was able to drink the water. It was night and Jesse fell asleep, but in the middle of the night she heard a scream of a human. When she woke up she saw a monster in front of her, and there was a box in his hand. And the box was full of jewelry and bones. Jessie closed her eyes and tried to convince herself that this monster was also her hallucination, just like Gerald and Jessie herself. Gerald told Jessie that a quiet place like this is the home of ghosts, and they come out at night. But Jessie told him that this is just an illusion like you. When Jessie opened her eyes the monster was not there, but Gerald was still there. He called her Mouse multiple times. Jessie recalled some memories of her childhood. We found out that Jessie's dad used to call her Mouse. And her dad molested her once in her childhood. That's why Jessie hates the word mouse. When Jessie woke up in the morning, she saw that the wild dog was licking her leg. Jessie kicked the dog in its face multiple times and the dog went back and sat down. After a few seconds Jessie realized that her hands were paralyzed, since there was no blood circulation in her legs. Her subconscious mind, which means Jessie, told her to move her legs continuously to continue the blood circulation in her body. And this trick worked like a charm. Jessie's hand became normal and Jessie drank the leftover water from the glass. Her subconscious talked to her about the dream, and she told her that marrying Gerald was the biggest mistake of her life. Gerald had cheated on you multiple times with the excuse of business trips. Actually Jessie already knew all of this, but still after hearing this Jessie started to cry. Gerald once again told her about the monster, but Jessie's subconsciousness told her that it was just an illusion. After some time, Gerald showed her some footprints on the floor, and the footprints were so big. Therefore Jessie realized that the monster was actually real. Gerald told her that tonight that monster will come and then he will kill you to take your bones and your wedding ring. It was about to get dark and Jessie was getting so sick as well. She was too sleepy, but if she falls asleep then she might die tonight. That's why her subconsciousness told her not to fall asleep and motivated her to stay alive. Once again Jessie recalled another memory of her childhood, and she remembered that human blood is almost as thin as oil. She looked at the glass and she was thinking of doing something, but her subconsciousness told her that it would be too painful. Actually, Jessie was thinking of cutting her hand by breaking the glass, so that she could get her hands out of the handcuffs. With the oily effect of her blood, Jessie broke the glass and cut her hand very badly. But when she took out her hand from the handcuff, there was no skin left on her hand. After freeing one of her hands, she took the key from the desk and opened the other handcuff with the help of her mouth because her hand was not working at all. At first Jessie put some bandages on her wounded hand, and then she tried to run away from there with the car, but since she was so sick she passed out. When she woke up, the monster entered the room. Jessie put her wedding ring into the monster's box and ran away from there. She was still thinking that this monster was just an illusion. In the next scene we saw that Jessie was driving her car, but she felt like someone was there in the back seat. Therefore she got distracted and her car crashed into a tree. There were some houses near the accident scene. The people from those houses came outside to help Jessie. The scene shifted from here to 6 months ahead. We saw that Jessie was totally fine, but her hand was not totally recovered. We saw that Jessie started a foundation with the life insurance money of Gerald. She helps the kids who were abused in their childhood, but still Jessie gets the nightmare of that monster and it was too painful for her to sleep. The police did an inquiry of that cottage and they found nothing in the cottage. After some time, Jessie saw an article in the newspaper, and she saw the picture of Raymond Andrew. He was the monster who she saw in the cottage and gave her ring to him. And we realized that the monster was not her imagination, and he was real. Jessie also found out that Andrew would always cut the dead bodies of males, and put their jewelry along with their bones in his box. Some days ago, Andrew attacked a living person and he got arrested. Andrew was a normal human, but he had a rare disease, therefore his body was too big and ugly. That's why he looked like a monster. After that we saw that Jessie was in front of Andrew in the courtroom. Jessie saw her husband and her dad's face in Andrew's face. Jessie told Andrew that you're too small in my memories. After saying this, Jessie went outside with a smile on her face. If we talk about the ending of the movie, then we will realize that Jessie was living in pain since her childhood. Her own dad molested her when she was a kid, and after her marriage her husband treated her very badly. After the death of her husband, the monster from the cottage would always scare her in her dreams, but after coming out of the courtroom Jessie got rid of these bad memories and she felt so happy. Today we get to learn from this movie that the negative side of our mind is not always wrong. If we get any negative thoughts, then we shouldn't ignore them like this. We should be careful with our decisions. For example, when Jessie was locked up, Gerald told her that the monster was real, but Jessie's subconsciousness, the positive side of her mind, told her that the monster was just an illusion. Along with that, the positive side of her mind also told her not to cut her hand, but if Jessie didn't do it, then she would never be able to get out of that cottage, and she would have died in that cottage. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below.